The level of incompetence in this office is staggering.
It's almost as if the Trudeau Liberals, buttressed by, of course, their NDP friends, didn't realize that after 2+ years of lockdowns, Canadians are going to want to leave their houses and go places and travel. And in order to do that, you need a passport. Well, you've seen the long lineups. You've seen the hours upon hours of individuals across Canada, particularly at Pearson Airport, waiting and waiting. But where is our federal government? It doesn't matter if it's all the way up top from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, all the way to his transportation minister. It's passengers' fault. It's not their fault, not their incompetence. It's up to you to make these issues work for you. But shouldn't we hold them accountable? I'm Adrienne Batra. I'm with Brian Lilley and Jamil Jivani. All right, Brian, I think I was maybe somewhat charitable in that assessment, because to suggest that the level of incompetence is staggering would be an understatement.
I've been watching governments provincially, federally, municipally for more than 20 years. This is the biggest hot mess I've witnessed. We've got problems with the passport department, with security screening at the airport when you're trying to leave, with customs agents when you're trying to come back in. We've got problems with foreign affairs where they go partying with Russian diplomats. We've got problems with the public safety minister lying about why he invoked the Emergencies Act. On and on it goes, and it's never the government's fault, it's somebody else's. Look, when a department screws up, the minister is supposed to step in and fix it. And if they can't fix it, they're supposed to have ministerial accountability, which ultimately means if you're not doing your job, you resign or you're fired. They're not doing that. They're constantly saying it's your fault for not applying for the passport soon enough. It's your fault for not getting your laptop out soon enough. It's your fault for not using ArriveCAN soon enough. And oh no, we didn't lie. We just didn't tell you the truth about the Emergencies Act.
Jamil, I mentioned earlier, of course, that all of these incompetencies by the Trudeau Liberals are propped up by the NDP right now. And I would have to think that the NDP of old, who were there for the working folk, the working class, the people, representing the people, where are they now? These Canadians that are trying to do the basic thing, like get a passport, go see their family that they haven't been able to see after 2.5+ years of lockdowns. How does the NDP justify to their supporters that this is okay with them?
Most Canadians could see through the Trudeau government. We knew that these guys were not prepared to handle the challenges facing the country. Most Canadians did not vote for them last fall. And Justin was elected with the lowest portion of the popular vote in Canadian history. So the surprise here is that Jagmeet Singh is so willing to abandon working and middle-class families and not hold the Trudeau government accountable, despite the fact the majority did not support the prime in the first place. I think what's happened here is that it's become very hard for many people, whether you're on the left or the right, to oppose liberal elites. It takes some sacrifice, it takes some mettle, it takes some hard work, and I don't think Jagmeet Singh is willing to do, and his party at large has failed and abdicated their responsibility.
I think that's such an important perspective to so much of this, Brian, is that if you, God forbid, you oppose or speak up against anything that the current Trudeau Liberal NDP government has done to Canadians. I mean, we just saw the reaction, of course, with the trucker convoy and what happened there, celebrated in some corners, but of course derided in others. But let's bring this back to this whole notion of just utter incompetence from every issue of public policy. They knew that the pandemic was ending. They knew Canadians were ready to get back to normal life. They knew that there were going to be issues at the border. They knew there were going to be issues at the airports. They were warned by the unions. They were warned by the industry, yet they did nothing. Instead, Justin Trudeau just goes down to yet another trip down to the United States, makes nice with the governor of California, makes cute little Instagram videos. But meanwhile, his ministers sit here, chide Canadians for their inability to travel or remember how to travel. And then his other minister of foreign affairs, in the meantime, we as Canadians are supporting Ukraine. Her diplomats are partying with Russians. This is what's happening in our own backyard. And I don't think Canadians are even aware of it.
So let me give you just a quick insight into how foreign affairs used to work, because I spoke to Gary Keller, who used to be the chief of staff when at that department when John Baird was minister. And every year they'd give a list of parties not to go to, countries not to socialize with, and countries you couldn't invite. And he said Russia was on that list from 2014 on after they invaded Crimea. You would think they'd be on the list now. And this was apparently standard protocol, not something invented by the Harper guys, but obviously it's not happening now because the deputy chief of protocol goes to, sip cheap Russian champagne and eat some caviar to celebrate Russia Day. It makes no sense. Tom Mulcair has called this a whole of government incompetence. Paul Tellier, who was Brian Mulroney's clerk of the Privy Council, and he was a senior deputy minister under Pierre Trudeau in many different portfolios, top civil servant, has described how Trudeau is ruining the government and the relationship with the public service because nobody gets to do anything except the guys in the middle of PMO. So this is a government that's incompetent on many levels. Canadians are starting to notice. All these problems have been festering for months, and it's only when the media din gets too loud or a former NHL player posts a video on social media that they decide, oh, we better start talking about this.
Let's talk a little bit about that reaction then, Jamil. We know that the federal Conservatives, of course, have been asking for multiple cabinet ministers to resign. There used to be a time in this country, perhaps, a few decades ago, when things did go sideways in the department, a minister would take responsibility. Ministerial responsibility was a very important pillar of governing, important part of democracy. Well, under Trudeau, that's just not even a thing. We used to have a grossly incompetent Minister of National Defense, and after repeated incidents of failure, it's not like Justin Trudeau shuffled him out of cabinet till after the election. But this is what we're seeing yet again. The only one that actually ever fell on his sword, shall we say, is Bill Morneau, former finance minister. Do you have any belief or sense that there will be any change in the federal cabinet based on all of these multiple failures on behalf of the Trudeau government?
Well, they may be put into a position where they've got to make some personnel changes just to make an attempt to restore some confidence in their decision making. But I think only what the federal Conservatives need to do is really draw attention to the fact that this is what you get when you are led by emotion, whether it's fear, whether it's what Justin Trudeau used to call sunny ways, or sunny days, whether it's an attempt to make people good, but not actually be able to produce results that are good for the country. That is what the last 7 years under Justin Trudeau has been about. It's been about virtue signaling and apologizing and shedding tears and doing things that I think make people feel a certain way, but that doesn't mean that these individuals know how to lead a country and make decisions for the greater good. In my view, the federal Conservatives have an opportunity here to show competence, to show that they've got a plan, that they can make the tough decisions, that they can bring a high quality people to cabinet position tree. And I would hope that they take the opportunity. I know it's very easy for the federal Conservatives to fight with each other right now, but there's a bigger opportunity here to make a statement about the Trudeau Liberals, and I hope they take it.
And in the meantime, for you fellow Canadians, you'll probably be standing in a ridiculously long lineup to get your passport, and then an even more ridiculously long lineup to get on your flight. Log on to Facebook and Twitter. Let us know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.